The camera is close, uncomfortably so. Rain streaks down the window panes behind me, each drop a tiny, distorted reflection of the lightning that splits the sky. You probably think this is just for effect, for atmosphere. It's not. The storm. It reminds me of that night. It helps me remember every detail, every chilling second. My name is Bauer. I'm 59 years old, and 10 years ago I survived something that shouldn't exist. You're a journalist. You deal in facts, in evidence, but what I'm about to tell you, there's no evidence. No police report, no geological survey will ever confirm it. There's only my word, and the scars that run deeper than my skin. It all started with a wrong turn. Isn't that how these stories always begin? A simple mistake, a moment of inattention. I was driving back from a business meeting up north, a route I'd taken 100 times, but the rain was relentless, a solid sheet of grey that turned the world into a watercolor blur. The signs were illegible, the landmarks swallowed by the storm. I was tired, frustrated, and just wanted to be home. I took a turn onto a road I didn't recognize, a winding, narrow lane that clung to the side of a cliff. I told myself it was a shortcut, that it would eventually loop back to the main highway. Denial is a powerful anesthetic. The road grew more treacherous with every mile. The asphalt was slick, glistening like polished obsidian under my headlights. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I remember thinking, just a little further, just around this next bend. And then it happened. Hydroplaning. It's a strange, weightless feeling. For a split second, you're not driving. You're flying. The car became a toy in the hands of the storm, spinning, sliding. The world outside was a chaotic vortex of rain and darkness, and then a sickening lurch. The guardrail, a flimsy suggestion of safety, snapped like a twig. The car tipped over the edge, and I was falling. The impact was a deafening symphony of destruction. Twisted metal screamed, glass shattered into a million tiny diamonds. Then silence, punctuated only by the drumming of the rain and the slow metallic tick of the cooling engine. I came to tasting blood and gasoline. Pain was a white-hot fire in my leg and a dull, throbbing drumbeat in my head. I was trapped, pinned by the steering column, the car crumpled around me like a discarded can. The cold was seeping in, a deep, bone-aching chill that promised a slow, quiet end. I tried my phone. Dead. Of course. Hope began to curdle into despair. I was going to die here, on a forgotten road, in the heart of a storm. And then I heard it. A voice. It was faint at first, carried on the wind, weaving through the hiss of the rain. It was a woman's voice, singing. Not words, just a melody. A haunting, impossibly beautiful sound. It was pure, melodic, filled with a warmth that seemed to push back the cold. It felt safe. It felt like a promise of rescue, of a warm fire, of a gentle hand to soothe my fevered brow. Every instinct screamed that it was impossible. Who would be out here singing in a storm? But my rational mind was being shouted down by the primal need to survive. With a surge of adrenaline I didn't know I possessed, I fought my way out of the wreckage. I tore my jacket, sliced my hand open on a shard of the windshield, but I got free. I crawled out into the mud and the rain, my broken leg a dead weight I had to drag behind me. The song was clearer now, beckoning me. It was coming from a dark opening in the cliff face not 50 yards away. A cave, of course, a shelter from the storm. The voice was my siren, and I was the desperate sailor crawling toward the rocks. The entrance was a jagged mouth in the stone, and the moment I passed through the threshold, the world changed. The roar of the storm outside vanished, replaced by a profound, humming silence. The air grew warm, dry. The cave wasn't dark. A soft, ethereal luminescence emanated from the walls themselves. As my eyes adjusted, I saw them. Symbols. Carvings covered every inch of the stone from floor to ceiling. They were unlike anything I'd ever seen, not ancient hieroglyphs, not tribal art. They were geometric, alien, and they seemed to shift, to writhe just at the edge of my vision, like living things. The melody was stronger here, seeming to come from the very rock. It led me deeper, into a larger cavern, and there in the center was the source of the light. a pool. It wasn't water, not exactly. It was a basin filled with a liquid that glowed with an eerie, captivating blue light. The light pulsed in time with the melody, a slow, hypnotic heartbeat. The song was a lullaby, and I was a tired child. All I wanted was to lie down, to rest. The pain in my leg was gone, replaced by a pleasant numbness. The voice promised an end to suffering, an end to struggle. It was so tempting. Drawn by a force I couldn't comprehend, I reached out my hand toward the carvings on the wall next to the pool. The moment my fingertips touched the stone, it happened. It wasn't a vision, not a dream. It was knowledge. Information, raw and unfiltered, poured into my mind. I saw the history of this place. It wasn't a shelter. It was a trap, a feeding ground, a fissure between worlds, a place where something ancient and patient waited. The voice wasn't a rescuer. It was bait, a lure, crafted over millennia, perfectly tuned to the frequency of desperation and hope. It sang to the lost, the dying, the broken, and it drew them in. It fed on their life, their warmth, their very essence. The symbols on the wall weren't decorations. They were the digestive tract of this living prison. The beautiful melody suddenly sounded predatory, its notes sharp and hungry. The comforting warmth felt like the heat of a predator's breath. And as this terrible understanding flooded my soul, I saw a change in the glowing pool. The blue light intensified, and from its depths, something began to rise. It was a hand, a pale, slender, impossibly perfect hand. It rose slowly, elegantly, its fingers beckoning me closer. It offered everything the voice had promised: peace, release, an end to all pain. It was the most beautiful lie I have ever seen. And in that moment, I had a choice. I could surrender. I could let the beautiful hand take mine, pull me into the light and simply cease to be. The thought was intoxicating. It would be so easy. But another part of me, the stubborn, stupidly human part, rebelled. I thought of my wife, my children. I thought of the sunrise I hadn't seen yet. I chose pain. I chose struggle. I chose the cold, miserable, terrifying reality of the world outside over the perfect, placid lie within the cave. I screamed. Not a scream of terror, but of defiance. I threw myself backward, away from the pool, away from that beckoning hand. I scrambled back the way I came, dragging my broken body over the shifting symbols. The melody warped, turning from a beautiful song into a discordant shriek of fury and frustration. It was a sound that scraped at the inside of my skull. I burst out of the cave, back into the freezing, chaotic reality of the storm. The cold hit me like a physical blow, but it was real. The pain in my leg returned with a vengeance, but it was mine. I collapsed in the mud, just a few feet from the entrance, and I lay there, shivering, until the first grey light of dawn broke through the clouds. The rain had finally stopped. When the rescue team found me hours later, guided by the wreckage of my car, I was delirious, suffering from hypothermia. I tried to tell them about the cave, about the voice, about the hand. They saw the dark opening in the cliff face where I said it was. But when the geologist on the team went to inspect it later that day, there was nothing. Just a solid wall of rock, no cave, no entrance. It had simply vanished. They said I was hallucinating. Trauma, blood loss, hypothermia. It's a neat, tidy explanation. It puts the world back in its proper box. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. That place was real. The world isn't as solid as we think. It has cracks, thin places. And in those cracks, things wait. Things that hunger. So now you have my story. Believe it or don't. But I'm not telling you this for fame or to sell a book. I'm telling you this as a warning. We are taught to look for the light in the darkness, but sometimes the darkness creates its own light to draw us in. The most dangerous traps are the ones that look like salvation. Survival isn't just about strength or luck. It's about wisdom. It's about knowing when to reject the beautiful lies that sing to you from the dark. So next time you're lost, or alone, or at the end of your rope, and you hear a beautiful song on the wind, a promise too good to be true, run, don't follow it. Cling to your pain, to your struggle, because it's real. It's what makes you alive. And sometimes it's the only thing that can save you. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, if it made you think, Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more explorations into the shadows. Stay safe and question the voices you hear in the dark.